Today's Browns Mailbag is presented to you by Aura, an all-in-one digital safety tool that not only keeps your wallet protected when you're online, but also your identity. They are offering the Dog Pound a 14-day free trial when you get started at aura.com/chatsports. I'm proud to tell you about their awesome features later on in the show, so stay tuned for that. But let's jump into a mailbag with our first question coming in from Rob Sarah Stover. Do the Browns sign OBJ now? Sounds a little familiar. No, I don't think the Browns sign Odell Beckham Jr. now. I think OBJ waits until midseason. He'll pick the best team out there and chase another ring. Plus, the Rams want him back. So I think LA is probably the most likely option. The Brown Tiger with the next question. I think both sides won this deal. Browns happy and Panthers happy with this deal. Go Brownies, woof woof. Yeah, that was a horrible woof woof on my part. But yeah, if you're Carolina, all it cost you was at most a fourth-round pick. We can look at what Baker did in 2020. He had some awesome stats. In fact, let's flash those 2020 stats up here. If all it costs is a fourth-round pick, fifth that can turn into a fourth, we'll assume a fourth just for argument's sake. 3,500 yards, 26 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. Sam Darnold ain't getting close to those numbers. So, granted, much better roster with Cleveland, much better offensive line and supporting cast, but still, I think the Panthers come away happy, and the Browns, I think, come away happy just to kind of have this over with and proceed with the new era of Browns football under Deshaun Watson. The Rainbow Cow has our next question. What's our weakest position group and strongest? That's a great question, Rainbow Cow. I'll start with weakest and say defensive line. One, we've learned Andrew Berry doesn't value the defensive line all that much, right? He doesn't believe in putting in a ton of resources and money into it and just kind of skating by a little bit and happy to have mediocre run defense like he had with the two Maliks last year. Strongest offensive line still? I don't think that changes. Maybe running back? I might pivot to running back, but still, either way, you've got Teller, Bitonio, Wills, Conklin. We'll see what Nick Harris is all about, but I like what I've seen out of times from him last year and whatnot. But running back room, I mean, Dearness Johnson is your third running back. He could be the starting running back for a handful of teams, and he's RB3 on your team. So I guess I'll go with the running back room, but offensive line's right there with it. Pop Johnson with our next question. Is this the Browns' best roster? Best roster we've seen in years? Good question. I think so. One, you've never had a quarterback to the magnitude of Deshaun Watson. I think we've all seen the stats before. Deshaun Watson's time in Houston would have broken the Browns' passing record twice. And the quarterback is everything. Running back room is somewhat similar to years past, but still, it's still great. Wide receiver room, I think on paper may not be as good as it was with Landry and OBJ, but that never really worked out as well as we all would have hoped. But I think you got to say it's the best roster since the Cardiac Kids days. So I'll say yes, this is the best roster in a long time, at least in this century. All right, next question coming in from, question for you guys. Where does Baker rank as a Browns QB? I've had one too many Coors Lattes. Where does Baker rank as a Browns quarterback? Is he number one? We want to go Birdie number one? Okay. It's tough because he only played 4 seasons for Cleveland, but in those 4 seasons, he was the best quarterback in the last 22 plus years, in my opinion. So I'm curious to see what you guys have to say. Let me know, where would you rank Baker as a Browns quarterback? Zachary Wolf with the next question on the show. The NFL is a business. Get over it. I am over it. I don't really know what you're referring to, Zach, but it is a business, and that's a great point. So if I'm going to pivot this to maybe more of an actual question, in Carolina, they've got some interesting drama now between Baker hanging out with Robbie Anderson. And Robbie Anderson had some maybe not so nice things to say about Baker a few months ago on Instagram and social media. But like you said, Zach, it's a business. And Robbie Anderson, he ain't a top 10 wide receiver. you got to get over it. Now, what you don't have to get over, or you should get over, is having your identity compromised and your credit card hacked and all that bad stuff. So keep your family protected when you go to aura.com/chatsports. Here's the awesome feature that Aura is offering, which is an all-in-one digital safety company. Make sure your credit card and your identity is never compromised online. Plus, they have family plans. So that way, if you've got some young ones who, by the way, might borrow your phone and go online and spend a couple $100s on eBay like my sister did when she was 7 years old, Aura can help prevent that. 14-day free trial right now, aura.com/chatsports. Links in the comments and the description. Start that 14-day free trial and you'll thank me later. Question coming in from Adventures with Adrenaline. How can Watson be suspended with zero physical, video, audio evidence? Kraft, Jones, and Snyder, no evidence, no consequences. So we're pivoting a little bit here, but let's talk about Deshaun for a moment because you're right. The NFL, after doing their entire investigation, presented primarily 5 cases to Judge Sue Robinson, which included, like you said, no physical, no threats, no coercion, and no video, no audio. It is just a little bit of he say, she say with some screenshots of text and whatnot. But this is what the NFLPA is throwing at the league and at Robinson. You had Robert Kraft with the massage parlor in Florida before the AFC Championship game, and the NFL admitted they did an investigation and did not offer up a consequence when he was absolutely guilty of this. Plus, Jones in Dallas, Jerry has done some scandalous stuff. Nothing ever happens to him. And Dan Snyder, an all-time move, avoiding a subpoena by hanging out on your mega yacht in the south of France. Baller. I mean, you got to respect it to a degree. But still, the NFL owners get off. But yet they're under the NFL personal conduct policy just like the players are, like you pointed out, Adventures. Another question coming in from my guy, Zach. I was referring to the free Baker. Okay. Yes, that Baker needed to be traded. Thank you, Zach. Now we're on the same page. There were a lot of people saying free Baker. He was on vacation. He was hanging out in Mexico with Emily and their friends for a long time. It was very free. Never understood what that meant. The Browns didn't want to. He wasn't a hostage. They wanted to trade him during the draft, for crying out loud. He goes to the Panthers. They shake hands. They go their separate ways. They will reconvene week 1 this year, and they won't see each other likely for another 4 years if Baker's still with Carolina. He is free. I never understood. That made no sense to me. Question coming in from my guy, KJ and Grant. How many touchdowns do you think Donovan Peoples-Jones will get this year? What about 7? Okay, I think that's a good number for this year. He led the Browns in receiving last year. Put me down for 7 TDs for DPJ. TLH with the next question on the show. Do you see a quarterback battle with Mayfield and Darnold? And do you think Matt Corral will take over in the near future? Well, we can compare Baker and Darnold's stats, and we'll get that on screen for you guys in just a moment. I don't think it will be a battle. Yes, Baker's not coming in there and just being handed the job, but he will win the battle. I don't think there's much conversation about that. I mean, when you compare their careers, Baker is better in every single statistical way possible, in my opinion. Higher completion percentage, more yards per game, way more touchdowns, 4 more interceptions in a lot more games, and a better record overall. So, yes, I think Baker is going to win this job. And as for Matt Corral, maybe. I'm not a big fan of Matt Corral. He ran a Mickey Mouse offense at Ole Miss, and I don't think he's actually going to be able to take that next step in the NFL and start reading defenses. Now, here's a question I've got for you guys. Do you have faith in Andrew Berry, right? A, B, do you have faith in him? Y for yes or N for no? While you're getting your votes in down below, make sure you subscribe to the channel. That way, you stay informed and entertained all at once. So if you're looking for a Browns YouTube channel with the latest news and rumors surrounding your Brownies, this is the channel for you. You don't need to hit the sub button. Just tap it. Boop, and boom, you're locked in. Question coming in from Rainbow Cow. Honest thoughts. Do we make the AFC Championship game or make an appearance in the AFC Championship in the next 3 seasons? Yes. That's my honest take right there. Now, of course, it's tough to answer that for this season, not knowing who the quarterback is. If Deshaun Watson is suspended more than 4 games, I would be weary because the AFC is loaded this year. And I think it's really going to come down to seeding to get yourself on the best path for home field advantage in the playoffs. But in the next 3 years, guys, the Browns have one of the best rosters, if quietly not the best roster. If you took this Browns roster and moved it to Pittsburgh or Dallas, everyone would say this is after Mahomes and Allen, this is the best team in the NFL. But because it's the Browns and because it's Cleveland, no one really wants to give them the respect that they deserve for what a phenomenal roster this team has. Question from Repulsive Gravity. Haven't seen you in the comment section in a long time. Happy to have you back, though. Remember when people wanted the Browns to release Baker for nothing? Couldn't be me. Could not be me. But yes, I mean, that was always a bit of a wild thought. The only defense I'll give them is, like, you go back to March, it was just like mayhem. It was like Ricky Bobby, pretzel in my brain. I don't know how to compute this. All of a sudden we go from Baker to Deshaun to Baker requesting a trade to a trade not happening to Deshaun will play. What are we doing here? But Baker was going to take up a roster spot this year and be traded mid-season to an injured team with an injured quarterback before he got released. Last question coming in from Anthony Lathim. I hope I pronounced that right, Anthony. Is the plan to just roll over the $49 million in cap? Only use I can see this season is to sign vets in case of injury, although I like another veteran defensive tackle and a swing tackle for depth. I like the idea you point out at the end, a veteran tackle. I think that could provide a lot of veteran leadership on this team, like Ndamukong Suh. Swing tackle will be an interesting idea. It's not great tackles out there right now. Dwayne Brown and Eric Fisher are probably the best ones that come to mind. Bobby Massey with the Broncos last year was half decent. Now, as for the $49 million you're referring to, yes. Now, the Browns have a lot of key players locked up. You know, they don't have to pay Nick Chubb or Wyatt Teller, right? These are all contracts that are secured. But if DPJ breaks out this year, you're going to have to pay him. You look on the defensive side, most likely Greedy Williams ain't coming back because I think that's why you drafted Martin Emerson, so you can go cheap for another couple years at corner. But Grant Delpit, if he balls out, he'll have to get paid. So I could see Andrew Berry thinking a couple steps ahead here, thinking, I've got a lot of key pieces locked up, but I don't want to lose Delpit or DPJ or thinking around the room, JOK, although he's still got, he's entering just his second year, so he's still got a couple more years on that rookie contract. But I think that's probably Andrew Berry's line of thinking. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at Matthew Petey if you are not already. That way you stay informed, because when stuff like this happens, when Baker Mayfield gets traded, we have you covered. I'm tweeting all about it. So hit me up on Twitter if you have not already, and I'll see you guys later with more Browns coverage.